The Mount of Olives has been Jerusalem's eastern border and a praying site since the times of King David. It is one of the most famous observation points in the world. Christians, Jews, and Muslims all imagine themselves standing here, absorbing the beauty and the holiness of the city. This is where Jesus of Nazareth entered the city riding a white donkey, as prophesied in the book of Ezekiel. This is where Christ foretold his gloomy prophecy about the destruction of the city and the temple located in the city center. This is where he was betrayed and handed over to the Romans, and according to faith, this is where he will re-enter the city at the second coming. On the mountaintop stands the small chapel of the Ascension. The original church was built by Queen Helena in the 4th century during the Byzantine era and was called the Eleona Basilica. The current structure of the chapel is from the Crusader era, and the octagonal drum and stone dome are Muslim additions. Inside the chapel there is a mihrab, a niche in the wall indicating the direction of Mecca, which means this chapel is also a mosque. A frame from the floor contains a piece of stone imprinted with the right footprint of Christ. The section bearing the left footprint was taken to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in the Middle Ages.
And it came to pass, while he blessed them, he was parted from them, and carried up into heaven. And they worshipped him, and returned to Jerusalem with great joy. Luke 24.
The Paternoster, Our Father Church, is built over a cave in which Jesus was said to have taught the disciples the prayer that begins, Our Father who art in heaven. The first church on the site, built by Constantine's mother, Queen Helena, during the Byzantine Empire period, was destroyed in the Persian invasion of 614, and a replacement was built by the Crusaders during the 12th century.
كنيسة أبانا الذي في جبل الزيتون انبنت على مغارة سنة 1886 محل ما المسيح عليه السلام علم الصلاة وفي ترجمة للصلاة ب 152 لغة.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done as in heaven, so in earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, for we also forgive everyone that is indebted to us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Luke 11.
In the 19th century, an Italian woman called Aurelia Bossi rebuilt the church. On her second marriage, she wed a member of the French royalty and became the Princess de la Tour d'Auvergne. Here, next to her statue, she is buried together with her father's heart. One of the churches on the Mount of Olives is the Domino's Flevit church. Domino's Flevit is translated from Latin as the Lord wept. Unlike traditional churches with the apse built facing east toward the sunrise, the apse of this church was built facing west toward the temple, just as Jesus looked west predicting its impending destruction, openly wept as mentioned at Luke 19.
For the days shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side, and shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knowest not the time of thy visitation.
To the right of the crucifix we can see two great domes. They belong to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where Jesus was crucified and then resurrected. A mosaic of a hen and her chicks adorns the altar.
O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how often would I have gathered thy children together, as a hen doth gather her brood under her wings.
At the entrance to the church, built in 1955, on the remainders of a Byzantine church from the 5th century, Franciscan monks found a burial site dating to the last days of the Second Temple, close to the crucifixion. A cave nearby was discovered containing over 100 ossuaries and sarcophagi with Jewish names and symbols along with crosses. It is possible that this is the earliest Christian cemetery in the world. In the courtyard of the Church of Gethsemane, also known as the Church of Agony, there's a rich garden with olive trees that are hundreds of years old. Gethsemane, in Hebrew Gat Shmanim, means olive press. Is it possible that this is the garden mentioned in the Gospel of Matthew as Gethsemane, where Jesus sat in solitude and prayed the night before he was turned in? A tree in the corner of the garden was planted by Pope Paul VI during his visit in the Holy Land in 1964. The new Church of Gethsemane, also called the Church of All Nations, was built during the 20th century by the famous Italian architect Barlucci, where a Byzantine basilica once stood. The architect maintained a subdued and somber atmosphere in the church, much like Jesus must have experienced while praying at the very location. In front of the church's apse lies the rock upon which it is believed Jesus prayed, dubbed the Rock of Agony, as depicted in the mosaic above it. To the left of the apse, another mosaic depicts the kiss of the traitor, when Judas Iscariot kisses Jesus the morning after. The facade of the church is one of the most remarkable in the Holy Land. A beautiful mosaic depicts Jesus looking up at an angel above him holding the Greek letters Alpha and Omega, suggestive of the verse, "I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending." Revelation 1. To Jesus' left, a man depicted holding a white plaque with the word Ignorito written on it, which means this is a man who did not know the Messiah. To his right are the people of Jerusalem, weeping over the destruction of the city, as he foretold some 40 years before it was devastated by the Romans. Beneath the mosaic are statues of the four evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, each holding his own gospel. We are now inside the churchyard of the Russian Orthodox Church of Mary Magdalene, built in 1885. The building holds the remains of the Russian Grand Duchess Elizabeth Fyodorovna, who was put to death with the rest of the Tsar's family by Bolshevik rebels in the 1917 Red Revolution. Her body was smuggled through China and brought to rest here as she had requested. This Russian church is dedicated to Miriam from Magdale, Maria Magdalene, who became one of Jesus' followers. Maria was the first to see Christ after he was resurrected.
Our monastery located in the foot of Mount of Olive, and here usually Christ come to relax after he come to Jerusalem to preach, and he loved this place, and here he struggled before like soldier took him and bring to Mount of Zion before crucified him.
We are now at the foot of the Mount of Olives, in the valley of Jehoshaphat, so named after Joel's prophecy, where tradition holds that it is the Madonna's burial site. The church itself is rich with icons and chapels in the style of Eastern churches. Some traditions hold that Mary died in Ephesus, Turkey, but we will probably never know the truth. Nonetheless, every August, pilgrims come to Mary's tomb to celebrate the Assumption of Mary. Many traditions hold that at the end of days, the Messiah will come from the Mount of Olives through the valley of Jehoshaphat to the Golden Gate and Temple Mount. We will leave this final scene to faith and imagination, as the apocalyptic scenario is shared by Christianity, Judaism, and Islam.